Hello, podcast listeners. This is your smooth 2023 host of JJ Meets World, JJ Gordon. I hope you enjoy this episode. Tucker and I are going to talk about creating advertising. We're going to talk about Are You a Product? And yes, we're even going to touch on toilets. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World, and happy 2023. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Tucker, I am going to spend part of my day today fixing some toilets.
Plural.
Plural, yeah. So we've got plumbing is something I don't enjoy doing because to me it never turns out the way I want, and I don't think I've got the patience necessarily for parts of plumbing. But I've got a toilet in the basement, and you can tell that in the 6 or 70 plus years of my home having been built, we've shifted a little bit. And so there's a slight like dip in elevation, and it's enough that you can only really notice it if you look at the water in the tank part of the toilet. And so I'm going to pull up the toilet and I'm going to put some shims under it so that it's level again. And then I have to like fix the guts inside of it so that it runs properly. And then upstairs, I'm going to install some soft close seats on the toilet so that like when you put this lid down, it closes so slowly rather than the slam down. And you might not think that that's a big deal, but for me, I'm pretty excited about getting these things done.
I think that's a pretty big deal. I just watched a video recently of these scientists who are trying to be able to like figure out how much particulates get into the air if you flush the toilet with the toilet seat up.
Yeah.
And so they use this like laser light and stuff to do it. And they videoed it. It's on YouTube. It's a lot. It made me go, oh my God, I will never flush with the toilet seat open again for the rest of my life.
But what about in public spaces? There's hardly ever a lid on a public toilet.
It makes me go, I don't know if I can use a public bathroom again, even though I have been for 37 years.
Really?
But it was that gross. Where did you learn the toilet bowl arts?
The arts of the toilet bowl, just purely by having to fix toilets. I mean, I went in blind. The thing is that a toilet isn't complicated, right? So
Is or isn't?
it is not. The inner workings of a toilet are fairly simple. That's why they were able to be invented so many years ago, and we continue to, have them in abundance all over the place. The trouble is, excuse me. The problem is with a toilet, there might be 30 different things that could go wrong, and you just have to kind of go one by one to figure out what it is. Like, for example, if you've got a leak, okay, so you open the top bowl and you find out like, okay, there's no crack. Okay. So is it one of the seals on the where the water supply comes in? Okay. It's not one of those. Is it the rubber gasket between the tank and the bowl? Okay. It's not that. Is it something with the wax ring underneath? Okay. And so you just work and work. So like one of the tips that people do all the time is they take a packet of Kool-Aid and they will, they'll put it in the tank and like kind of mix it up a little bit so the water's red or purple or I don't know, blue if you really want to. And then they flush the toilet and they see like, okay, so if there's water leaking here, I can see it's coming from this area because I started at the top and worked my way down. The thing about a toilet is like, you just want it to work, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing scarier than when it doesn't work, because it happens all of a sudden when you need it the most, meaning you've already done your business. So to me, one of the things is I learned how to fix a toilet out of necessity because I need a toilet. And I'm not the type of person who's going to get dressed and drive somewhere else to go do my business.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I don't want to imagine life before indoor plumbing.
It
And at
was
what point was
horrific,
someone
I
like,
assume.
wouldn't it be
Like,
great
people
if we could just
died.
push a button? Yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could just like push a lever and all of this poo-poo is just taken away from where we are? Like, we left it here, but now we got to get rid of it. And I don't want to go outside and bury it again.
I'm thinking even more like those people who died in snowstorms because they got lost on the way back from the outhouse.
Oh, sure.
In the movie, which one is it? With the Hateful Eight, they have to put up these rod stakes that have an eye at the top, like an eye hole, so just like a circular hole, and then run a rope through it, and it's 100, 250, 300 feet long, and it goes out to where the outhouse is. And so if you were to go out in the middle of the night when there's cloud cover, so there's no light, or during a blizzard, you hold on to that, and that's how you lead yourself to and from the main house to the outhouse. And I think to myself, oh my God, there have been times I barely made it to the bathroom on the second floor. What would it be like if I had to lead myself out there? And then can you imagine having to do your business in the middle of a blizzard in what essentially is a little shack that provides barely any resistance from the harsh weather outside, and feeling like you've accomplished something? It's just not done.
I mean, yeah, that would royally suck, but that would be like the least of the things that would suck about living in that era.
I don't know. That's pretty high up there for me. Like,
I mean, you can always just drop it in a bucket and then dunk it out the next morning.
Oh, so you're gonna sleep in a house where your defecation is just stinking it up somewhere?
If it's that, or hey, I might die, then yeah.
No, man, I'm telling you, I would rather risk death than everyone else in the building knowing about my poop pail. 100%. 100%. And that's the reason why.
Can you imagine they wouldn't even snow blow?
What was that?
They wouldn't even be able to snow blow.
No. You're shoveling by hand, or you're using a horse of some kind to do. I don't know. Everything's done by horsepower back in the day.
Yeah, there's no one like sending a note on your door like you didn't horse and buggy your sidewalk yesterday, and that's not cool.
Yeah. Have you gotten a note like that yet?
No, I've been actually really, really good about, for the most part, I think I've been among the neighborhood average of how we're all getting motivated to go snowblow. Because like on day 3 in a row of snowblowing, everyone kind of goes, all right, fuck it. We're going to wait a little bit. No, like I've even done it where if I'm the first one out snowblowing that day, I'll just snowblow the sidewalk on my side of the block. I'll just do one pass as like a, hey, everyone, good morning. This should help everyone else out a little bit easier. I'm already here. I just have to point it in that direction and hold down the button and it goes that way, and then do it once more. Right. So like I'll actually go and do a little more than I need to do if I can. But it still sucks. So I dream of having like a riding snowblower. It's like fully encased and that just decimates snow. It feels like we should have even better technology for snow removal than we do at this point, but this is probably the best we can ever do, short of having controlled like flamethrowers.
Jill got me a gift years ago, which is a little like thick, clear plastic cocoon that bolts on to a snowblower so that while I'm snowblowing, I'm in a little like case.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, right. And the thing is, like, it covers like my upper torso so that my arms are still completely free to move and everything like that. Right. And I gotta tell you, on those days when it's windy while you're snowblowing, it's a little slice of heaven. Also, I upgraded my snowblower to have heated handles so that while it's running, there is heat going to them. And that has been a game changer because I do the same thing that you do, which is like, oh, okay. I mean, for me, I'm not going to stop at my property line because it's easier for me to turn around in a driveway further down. And so I will do huge swaths of the sidewalk. And occasionally, like, I'll have a neighbor who I know is out of town. And so I'll go and I'll clear, enough for their cars to get in and out when they get back and make it look like it's not just, empty, like their house isn't empty. And the heated handles are so cozy and so nice that it makes me want to, it's like, doesn't make it a chore. It makes it a small joy because my hands stay real warm and it gets hot. Like, it's not like, oh, you feel a little bit of heat. Like, no. It gets to the point of where like my hands are sweaty by the time I get in.
So this was an attachment that you bought for the snowblower?
Yeah. So what it was is that the handles were already wired for it, I guess, but I had to buy another piece that gets, put onto this, like another little like electric motor.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we've come a long way in snowblower technology when it comes down to it, because there are plenty of times I think I've watched people struggle with snowblowers that are 25, 30 years old that are, in all honesty, perfectly good. But our modern amenities really make a difference. It's the difference between using a cassette tape adapter to a Discman in your car so you can listen to Shoop by Salt and Peppa versus driving a brand new car with Bluetooth and every song in the world's available on your mobile device.
I think it also comes down to once you have a really good snow blowing technique down, because it can be really easy to actually work too hard, like not just let the machine do the work for you, right? You can lean into it too hard or tense your body as though you're doing something when you don't need to. It's also really easy to get hung up on snow drifts or get too much snow into the blower right away, and so you got to back up and do a bunch of shit to it. So I use a deli slicer technique where, let's say it's my driveway and my driveway's full of snow. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to carve a pilot path that's all the way through, just one path. And I'll go back and forth a couple of times. So I've got this really, really good one path that like one person could walk through. And I do this if like the snow is like really high and heavy, especially if it's really heavy, it's really wet. And then instead of just hitting the snow full on with the head of the mouth of the snowblower, I cut off slices of it, like I'm cutting slices of turkey off of a big turkey.
Okay.
And then that way I can keep going. I don't have to like push really hard. I just have to align the snowblower every time, and then it never gets caught up on stuff. And it does a really good job of slicing off chunks of snow and throwing it versus just going straight in and then getting caught up and having to back up and go forward over and over and over again. So deli slicer technique.
At my house, this is what I do. So since I can blow on both sides of my driveway for a distance, right? So I can blow into my front lawn, and my garage is the end of my driveway, which is level with my house. So like for you, your driveway goes so far back that at one point there's nowhere to go blowing it except for, to the absolute side, unless you're going up and over a fence line, right?
Yep.
So I go straight down all the way to the street in the middle of my driveway. And then I decide, am I going to start to the left or am I going to start to the right? And I usually do to the right. And I go back up. And so I take out the rest of the right side of the driveway, swap it over, and then do the other parts. Now, the one thing that really bothers me when it comes to snow removal, especially around my place, is that I have got a porch that until we've got enough snow to block other snow, it's constantly getting full. But I've got railings and all this stuff. So no matter what, I am pulling out a shovel and having to shovel off the entire porch. Mm-hmm. And then we've got a step, and then I got to shovel off that entire step. Yeah. So those things, but it's the type of thing where like I just shovel it all as forward as I can so that the snowblower can then take care of it when I get it over there.
Yeah. I don't think I told you, but the gate to my backyard ripped off.
Oh no.
Yeah. The door itself. So it's easily fixed. But what happened was it was one of those days where we just had so much snow and I was trying to get the door open to get past it. And I had shoveled around the base of the door just to get it open, but it wasn't enough. And so as I kept cranking the door, it finally ripped off. But it ripped off not at the hinges itself, but at the board on the door that the hinges were screwed into. So like the hinges and their board, they're still attached to the fence. It's just the door needs to be re-screwed onto that board. But there's so much snow around there. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. This makes it easier to snow blow. So I just threw the door off to the side and I just said to myself, I'm going to reattach that when it's not winter.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing back here to steal. They could have stole shit anyways. It's not like this locks and I can just lock the garage. So right now I don't have an attached door to the backyard because it's like, fuck it. Why?
In my backyard, I've got 2 dogs, right? I got a poodle and then I got a medium-sized dog. And we've had so much snow already this year that I've had to take my snowblower into the backyard and create these tunnels for the dogs to run around in. And so the poodle gets so cold that he pees and poops right on like you open the door and there's a giant pile of like tiny turds.
Oh, he's right outside the door.
Yeah, and then he needs to come in immediately because he's so cold. He's so chilly.
Sure, he's teeny tiny. He's got no fat on the bone. He's barely got any fur.
Right, I know. I understand. Like, I understand that he's cold, but he also won't wear sweaters, which would make him look even cuter. But when you put clothes on him, he just stands there. He won't move. So I make these tunnels, and it's kind of magical. Also, I did something that, Tucker, at one point, I'm going to invite you over to my house for a dinner party, which is a social event that you'll be obligated to come to, that for Jill's Christmas present, I got her this dome, and it's a see-through dome that can fit up to 12 people. So I'm going to put a big table in there and I'm going to heat it, and it's going to be in the middle of my backyard surrounded by snow, and we can have like an outdoor dinner party during the winter,
awesome.
which I think will be amazing.
Awesome.
One of the go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've been thinking in terms of winter and spending it outdoors. I want to develop a snowsuit, but that's like almost like a spacesuit where you're completely enclosed, right? So it's like a suit that creates its own environment for you inside, so that anytime I'm like, oh, I got to go out and snow blow, I can put on my cool ass snow spacesuit. And then while I'm out snow blowing, I'd be like, yeah, I can't even tell that I'm in winter. It just feels normal right now.
You know, so I use DeWalt power tools. And one of the things they've been advertising a lot lately is that you can use these 20-volt batteries that will actually plug into a coat and provide like a heating source inside of a coat.
Interesting.
Right. And so I've wanted to try one really bad, but I can't be the guy who's like, hey guys, hold on, I gotta switch out the battery on my coat. Hold up. You guys, wait up, you guys.
You know, I love my car, but winter makes me go, you know what? My car needs some upgrades.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have auto start. It doesn't have heated seats.
Oh boy.
And I don't need those things to get around, but man, there have been a few days this winter where I was like, God damn, that'd be nice to have right now.
Sure. I mean, I love the auto start in my car. It's one of my absolute favorite things in the entire world.
My auto start right now is I get boots on and I go outside and I have a second set of keys that I start my car with, and then I just let it run.
Sure. Your auto start is yourself.
Yep.
It's
more of a manual start than an auto start, but
let me ask you a question. Do you think that we've gone too far with things like auto start? Because it's to the point of where we're using it so much.
Yeah.
That I wonder, like, how much extra pollution are we putting onto the planet?
Oh, who cares?
You think so?
Yeah. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
that's my answer. I think eventually it's not probably going to matter as much when we're burning less gas. But not too long ago, I was shooting a commercial at the local Kia dealership, right? It's like a local 30-second commercial. and they're selling all these electric vehicles now. And I was talking to the sales guy, and he said, the really nice thing about electric vehicles in the wintertime, especially these ones, is that the battery, if you're just sitting, will last for days and will continue heating your car. So like these stories where people are like stuck in the wintertime and their fuel is running out.
Yeah.
They've only got like a day left to go. If they were an electric vehicle, according to this guy, they'd have a few extra days where they'd be totally fine.
Really?
No fumes, nothing. It'd just be a perfectly heated car that would go for a couple of days. So I think that's kind of a future that we'll look towards, where we all have electric vehicles and we're just not worried about emissions. We're not making emissions.
I mean, that's kind of lucky, right?
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
The other day I was having a big discussion on my radio program. Well, actually, I'll get back to that. Before that, I want to talk to you about something that you made recently that I am blown away by. And It has been a topic of conversation like at my work and at my home, which is this commercial that you had a hand in creating for the Vogel Law Firm.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple things I want to call out. First of all, the premise of the commercial is it looks like an 80s G.I. Joe commercial. So where kids are playing with figurines, like action figures, and they do things like burst through a wall. They've got secondary props, and it's, and it's done like that. It's like the Vogel Law Firm attorneys, and, playset does not include this. It is perfect. It clearly it's done with love from that genre of commercial. Secondly, it's so perfectly paced. Like, I think that there could have been the opportunity to go overboard on it, and it wasn't, right? It's just perfect the way it is. And there's the you didn't use any like CGI or anything, right? Like, this is all done in camera.
Yeah, no CGI.
Right?
Yeah. And don't really have the budget for CGI.
And like, like the play set that was brought into it. It's just everything about it is so good. And I also want to call out the fact that this is the type of brilliant creative piece that usually gets shot down by a client. So
well, and we won't be making any more for that client like that.
Oh no, really?
They've already said we don't want any more like that.
What?
So. Yeah,
they're gonna change their mind because this is something that's gonna go ultra viral.
Well, yeah, the thing is that it's a bunch of lawyers, and so some of them love it, but some of them don't, and so it kind of goes that. I appreciate what you're saying, though. I am, as far as commercials that I've worked on, it's the one I'm the most proud of. It was written by Jason Jacobson, and then I directed it, and then the props, the action figures and the play set were made by John Goring, who did props for the play I directed, Mr. Burns, a post-electric play. And John is just fucking brilliant. He is absolutely brilliant. He's been doing all the props work recently for AJ Goes to the Dog Park as well. The shoot that we did this summer, he made us a bunch of stuff like that. So John is primo when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, getting to shoot and direct and edit that was an absolute pleasure for me. And actually, we actually added a bit of writing because as we were working on it, I realized, Jason, I think we need some more copy here and there. So Jason went back to the writing board and even wrote more to get it to that 30-second spot that made it feel like a 1990s action figure commercial. And Jason and I grew up in that era. So we were dreaming about this piece for months as we were trying to get the client to sign off on letting us do it. So I am really happy with it. I am excited I'm hoping it will lead to some more opportunities to make stuff like that.
Sure.
Would be really, really good. So yeah, no, I thanks, man. I appreciate it. And of course, voiceover by Scotch.
Yeah, dude, Scotch is great, isn't he?
Well, and there's like a service that I use, an online service, whenever I'm trying to cut a 30-second commercial and I need a audio on copy on it. And because, we have clients and they have all sorts of different needs, I don't want to use the same voiceover artist every single time. Right. So I'm always using a service to try to get a different sound, different voice. And I was going through that service to find the voice for the commercial and I couldn't find it. I was like, God damn it. None of these guys in their reels can really evoke the sound of like a 1990s X-Men action figure commercial. And so There's actually a very specific X-Men action figure commercial that I kept thinking about because it was on the VHS tape I had as a kid, Pride of the X-Men, and it was before the movie actually played. It would play this X-Men commercial, and then I just realized, oh my God, Scotch has that voice, and I can talk to him directly, and we could figure out what to do from there. So thank you to Scotch for joining us on that as well.
Let me ask you a question about making something that you get paid for versus making something that that is just for, your own personal benefit, right?
Okay.
So it drives me. I think the easiest complaint from a creative side is that people want creativity, but then they don't actually want creativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we want something fun, we want something innovative, and then when you give them something that you feel matches that, they're like, no. What we're thinking is more like it's a pan and scan across, this, and you go like, oh, so you really did not want something creative. You just wanted to say those words so that you can get to it. And don't get me wrong, I've been in a position where I've had to create media for a business, and it's kind of, it's kind of nerve-wracking to some extent, because you don't want something that's going to embarrass them, right? Because you walk a fine line with trying something brand new that could be amazing, but at the same time could be, I guess it could be embarrassing, right? And you just don't know that. And not that there's a lot of great examples of people who've been embarrassed of work because people stop it before you can even test it out. But at the same time, when you create something for yourself and you've got this ability to do whatever you want, I think that there is, the flip side of the coin is that there's detriment to that because you are not working within boundaries, and occasionally boundaries can be the creative force. It causes you to think differently going forward.
Right. Yeah. It's always a little clenching. And I think you know what I mean when I say that. Whenever you hear a client whose only description they can give you of what they want is things that should be assumed will be a part of it anyways, right? So like, it's like this. It's like if you're a cook and someone says, I want you to cook me a meal. Okay, well, what would you like me to make? I want you to make something that's delicious.
Be like, okay.
And I want you to make something that I like. Got it. What do you like? I really don't know. It's that kind of shit when you realize I'm fucked because there's no way for me to know if I'm hitting the mark. Now, sometimes, every once in a while, that kind of client, you just wow them. They go, oh, sweet. And then they have no notes, but that's rare. I've had a couple of clients even this year who we no longer have as clients because that's all they'd say is we want it to be creative and we want it to stand out. And it's like, of course you want it to stand out. It's marketing. Yep. It's advertising. But then what you find out is that, they had something else in their mind and they don't really have, a lot of people really don't have the stomach for taking risks publicly with your messaging or your media. So they make advertising that's truly ineffective. They make advertising, it's I've heard Jason say this a lot. It's what is it? It's very expensive to fit in with everyone else in marketing.
Ooh, I love that phrasing.
It's not exactly the way he says it. He says it better than I do, but he's right. I mean, if your video isn't actually standing out and making people remember it, then it's worthless. People really don't seem to understand that just because you see videos online and you see a lot of views under those videos, that means that that's going to happen for you too. And that merely the fact that it is a video is the thing that's doing that thing. If you want a video, but you don't know what you're really planning on doing with it, except let's say you say, well, I'm going to put it on Facebook. Well, you just failed. Good luck. Are you planning on putting dollars behind that? No, then nothing's going to happen. Unless it's the most amazing video on planet Earth that just goes quote unquote viral, which really isn't a thing anymore. then and that's not going to happen, right? That's not going to happen for your yarn store,
Yep.
right? When things go viral, they go viral for like a couple of days, and that itself doesn't necessarily turn into business for you. So people have I've gotten to the point in my career, and I know it comes off as me sounding, I don't know, pessimistic or something. I'm not trying to cynical maybe. But it used to be where someone said, hey, I need a video. Will you help me? And I would say, yes, let's do it. I love helping people with videos. But now if they say it, even if it's my theater company, I'll say, well, let's talk about your video. What do you need it to do? Who is it meant to be seen by? And how are you going to get it in front of them? 99% of the time, their answers are awful. And so you have to get them to have answers first before you can really make the video. And then I'll also say, how much are you able to spend on the video? Because if they say really nothing, then it's like, grab your phone and go make a video, right? You've got all the information you need to on the internet. It's a perfectly legit way to make a commercial. I see so many 10-second, 15-second ads on Instagram and stuff where people shot it on their phone because for the advertising effect to work, it doesn't need to necessarily look like a Hollywood production. It needs to stand out. It needs to capture your attention for a second. It needs to get some information to you, right? And so it becomes a struggle of trying to walk them through that territory and get them to understand the lay of the land and compete with the fact that because everyone is surrounded by video all the time, everyone considers themselves an expert on the subject. Well, I know what I like. Okay, you might know what you like, but you have no idea how to communicate that. And even if you did, that does not tell us anything about whether or not the audience you're trying to reach is going to like that. So video, it's not just about making the video. It's about, are you putting dollars behind it? Where are you putting it? Who are we targeting this at? How long does it run for? Do you need a 15? Do you need a 30? Do you need a 60? Do you need radio spots made of this? There's all sorts of stuff that you have to get through. And oftentimes the client goes, hey, shut up, make me my video. And now I'm at the point where I say, no. And it's tense sometimes, but I'm glad I'm doing it because it's better for everybody. I'm now not taking their money to make a worthless fucking product for them.
Right. And there's plenty of people who will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm also hopefully helping them get more out of a video that they were going to get, because they didn't realize, oh, Facebook and all these platforms, they've realized that they can make money by serving your content to other people. So they're not going to make your content easy to find unless you pay for it.
Right. Which to me is the thing where we've had a discussion a lot on the air about, Facebook, can you believe that they're selling your information? Can you believe that Facebook is doing this? And Facebook is just all ads. I'm like, yep, exactly. Because it's free. You don't have to pay anything to get on Facebook, and it is a business, and it will continue to monetize itself. Do you think that these practices seem evil? Sure, absolutely. But you still choose to engage with this free product. It'd be the same thing where, like, if you, let's say you had a choice when it came to phone providers, right? So you can use Tucker's old timey, talkie line, or JJ Gordon's Gordco internet based landline. And the difference is Tucker is going to charge you $5 a month for his service, and JJ is going to charge you $0 a month.
Goodness.
But
you're already cutting me underneath,
right?
huh?
Now, the difference is that I'm actually making $20 off you a month, because before you place any call, you have to listen to a 15-second ad.
Yeah.
And it might be the same ad over and over and over again. So if you need to call your Aunt Carol twice in a month, oh boy, are you going to hear the have you stopped into West Acres Shopping Center lately? A lot's changed. And you're like, oh my God, just dial this goddamn number.
I can totally understand how annoying all that is from a user perspective. I remember when Facebook wasn't covered in ads. I remember when Twitter and Instagram weren't covered in ads. But from a marketer's perspective, it is a goldmine. It is so much better than how we used to advertise in the past, because now you can actually target. You can actually understand and serve to who you want this to get to. It used to be you'd put it on TV and hope they saw it, right? And you'd have to maybe pay for a service if you were a TV provider to get your quote unquote ratings, right? But there's so much voodoo and so much hidden information in there that you just can't actually tap into, versus the internet, where you are logged. Let's just use Facebook as an example. You yourself have started an account. You put your name and your personal information in there. You chose to do that. By doing that, Facebook can now say, JJ Gordon is, what are you, 39?
I am 39.
39 years, white male in Fargo, North Dakota, works at a radio station, is connected to these people, is online this amount of time. We can literally know when he's online. We can know if he looked at the ad. We can know how long he looked at the ad for. We can tell you if he clicked on the ad. There's so much information that you can now utilize for marketing that it's actually made marketing much more effective, which I think at the end of the day is a good thing. The only problem I have with advertising and social media platforms is if the platform is not telling you this is an advertisement, right? If the platform isn't telling you this is an ad with dollars behind it, that's the only thing I have a problem with.
I always have just this thing of, you are a product nowadays, right? Like, well, we've always been products ever since stores opened and we weren't trading our grain for a chicken that we can turn into soup. We are the product. And I know some people who are very mad now that they're learning about how modern day digital marketing works and how they, as a product, their information, their personal information, whether it's mailing address or, their online habits, whatever it is, I don't mind it so much. Back in the day on radio and television and newspapers, well, not necessarily newspapers so much, but on radio and television, it was a crapshoot during prime time, right? So
Right.
You have an idea that, like, okay, more women than men watch ER, so we're going to put more advertising towards females in that, but you don't want to completely alienate the men. So, okay, we also can sell some ads for this. The Super Bowl. Oh, okay, so the Super Bowl is only men watching it. And they're like, hold on, wait a minute. My company is tied, and I think a lot of women watch this, so we're going to make commercials too. Now you can directly get that advertising, those messages, to the people who will affect them the most. This is my prime example. I used to watch a lot of primetime television, like Friends, right? And there'd be like a MaxiPad commercial. Now, I'm not saying, oh, gross, but you know what? It's not a product that I will ever personally need to use. I need to have a knowledge of that because we share the planet with 50% of the population who will, but that's another story. But I'll never need to buy a MaxiPad. And you know what? Someone's sitting there being like, well, what about the guy who goes out and he's a single dad and he's got to buy it for his daughter? That doesn't count. Those are flukes. Okay. So shut up, Todd.
Yeah.
But like, the thing that's nice is I get all of this like custom, well thought out advertising for me specifically that I love. Why have I bought so many Legos? Because Lego is advertising to me, because I've Googled them before and I've shopped on their website. Why do I have 3 brand new Back to the Future 1/18th scale DeLoreans from Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3 in front of me? Because something on Instagram said this dude loves BTTF.
What would be a national brand that you think just kills it when they come to commercial advertising, TV, like video advertising,
like on a consistent basis, not just a one-off?
Yeah, like these guys consistently seem to fucking crush it.
I think Arby's is a
Really?
weird thing. Like, I think Arby's, every time I see an Arby's commercial, I'm like, damn, that looks good. And then I remember, like, that's not what happens when I open the bag, though. Like, that is not what it looks like. I I think Arby's does a good job because Arby's is also a company too that embraced social media and not just like try our brand new venison burger, but like they got into flame wars and they, whoever was in charge of their social media did some fun stuff for a while. I think they do consistently a pretty good job. I can't think of like a car company. I can't think of a store specifically. I mean, here, when you talk about ads that have stayed with me my whole life, the holidays, we just got through the holidays, Christmas advertising, there are commercials that they have not had to remake in 40 fucking years because it's so good. For example, the Hershey Kisses Carol of Bells or We Wish You a Merry Christmas, where it's just like a bell choir. I know that it was like 2017, they redid the commercial just to make them CG rather than the stop motion that they had been using forever because they needed something that was in widescreen and not 4:3.
Well, and I think they do slight updates every year. So there's oftentimes like I'll notice, they have a slightly different color over here. They've got something else. Right. I think that way too, but they can continue to update it. But I love the fact that they're like, hey, this ad fucking kills. Yes. It does. It's genius. It's fan-fucking-tastic.
I was shocked the year. So Cheerios or Honey Nut Cheerios is the same thing where it's a Christmas carol and it's the honeybee bringing a bowl of honey and nuts to Scrooge. And he comes in and he goes, breakfast. And he goes, my customary gruel will suffice. And he goes, how about Honey Nut Cheerios? It's a mixture of honey and nuts. And he goes, did you say honey and nuts? And then he eats it and he's happy. So he didn't need to get visited by ghosts. And he says, like, Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge. It's a great ad. It makes me want to eat Honey Nut Cheerios. Fruity Pebbles has a Christmas ad where Barney is going to pretend to be Santa Claus because Fred's putting up Fruity Pebbles for him. The real Santa Claus is there. And you think that Fred is going to beat the shit out of Barney when he comes down because he goes, ho, 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 I'm hungry. Santa, my pebbles, your pebbles. And then Santa goes, 'tis the season to be sharing, Fred. And then he gives his good buddy a bowl of Fruity Pebbles and he goes, aw, Fred. And honest to God, it might be one of the most heart-wrenching moments that you have watching friendship take place in the span of 10 seconds.
You know, that Honey Nut Cheerios ad, I bet I would consider that the second greatest telling of A Christmas Carol of all time.
Behind him up, A Christmas Carol?
Of course.
Yeah, I agree. Right? Like the costuming is on point. You can really feel Victorian London. It just nails it. But
you know, the brand that I think kills it every time they come up with like a new series of commercials is Old Spice.
Oh, okay.
And you know, they really won me over about a couple years ago when they so for a long time they were doing that sort of surrealism, absurdism. That was really great. It worked really, really well. Where they had like the guy on a horse, you know, and he's talking. And that was great. That was a phenomenal. And then they put it to bed. It's like, okay, we've done that one for long enough. Let's do something new. And now the one that they've been doing where the catchphrase is "men have skin too." It's my fucking favorite. I love it so much. I love every commercial. I forget the actor's name, the stand-up comedian who is the lead in it. But his performance is so fucking on point where he's still masculine, but he has but it's you know, men get to have skincare products too. And you know, ladies, this isn't for you, right? Which is the exact opposite of all the marketing when it comes to body care products for men. So I just think it's a absolutely hilarious and inspired direction that they took it in. And so Old Spice seems to every couple of years go, okay, that worked out great. Let's shake it up a bit. And every time they do, it seems to work really, really well. I also like when spokes characters get created, even if I get sick of that person, but I'm like, hey, good for that actor, right? Yeah. You know, like Flo from Progressive, good for her for locking that down. She's making more money than most Hollywood actors are, right? Even the Geico Gecko, I like seeing him.
Oh, and you know what's interesting about Geico is it's like they've got like 4 spokespeople. Like they haven't decided on which one they want to go with yet, but eventually they'll get to it. Hold on, I'm gonna do Flo Progressive net worth and find out. So interesting thing about the woman who plays Flo is she was from the Groundlings, in Los Angeles, the famous comedy troupe. And that
No
features
shit.
people like Will Ferrell and Paul Rubens. And she had like a small like bit part in Mad Men. And so she was kind of this like trying to make it active.
Right.
Got this thing. It became so loved. And it's because she is taking an approach from it where she's created a character, right? It's not just someone who
Mhm.
comes up that like another example would be the most interesting man in the world, right?
Right.
That character is someone that you want to see more of. And I'm so glad that they haven't taken either of those and spun them off into like a television series for that character because we don't need that. The only
Didn't they
time
try to
that
do
has
that with the
ever worked
cavemen?
in the history of advertising is Ernest P. Worrell. That's the only
Didn't they try to do that with the Geico caveman?
they did. And that series lasted, I think, like 5 episodes. Right? Okay, so her name is Stephanie Courtney, and she's got a personal value of $6 million, and she's earning a roughly $2 million a year. So
Good for her.
yeah, and she was born in Stony Point.
Good for her. Like that would be such a win. Be like, oh yeah, I'm a spokesperson for these ads. And so I just, every couple weeks I spend a day and I shoot a commercial.
As long as you
then-
don't make it in North Dakota. That's the only thing that you got to do is like, so because they pay you once and then that's it. And then they can run that ad for the next 20 years.
Well, that's why on a national campaign,
Right.
you want that national campaign money. Did you ever hear Tom Segura's story about how he was almost part of Subway with Jared Fogle?
No.
Oh my God. He's talked about it a lot on like talk shows and stuff. So you'll find the clips on YouTube. But at one point, this is before Tom Segura was Tom Segura. He was still just a struggling comedian. And he got cast. They wanted to do a character who was like Jared Fogle's sloppy brother that they could market the unhealthy subs to. And so they went and they shot a couple commercials. And Tom was like, this is it. I've made, I'm now in a campaign, right? I'm in an ad campaign that's going to go wherever. They shot like 1 or 2, and then they decided to go a different direction, and they never aired it. And they just didn't end up using it. And then a couple years later, it turns out Jared Fogle was a pedophile. So like Segura was really disappointed at that time, but then he was like, oh, whew, that's good.
There's an ad agency out of Chicago that got hired by Kmart a few years ago. And Kmart ended up casting a bunch of these people from Second City, which is awesome, right? I mean, if you're in Chicago,
Right.
why would you not use that talent pool? And they made 2 ads that I still watch them to laugh and enjoy. One is the ship, like if you're going to ship something. So like you buy it online, like
yeah.
I ship my bed, I ship my pants. And it's that perfect amount of wordplay that is like it was just right. Like it wasn't overdone. Like they could have done a million ship, ads where you think that people are pooping their pants, but no, they kept it nice and easy and breezy. The other one they did was with this comedian who I've seen on the main stage and is hilarious, where they're talking about their layaway program, where essentially like you get to take home the television now, and then you don't have to put any money down, and you can, have these like payments for it. And so the guy goes, okay. And it starts with the 2 guys and they're looking at TVs and he's like, okay, so how much is this? And he goes like, yeah, with our layaway program, like, no money down. You can take it home today. And the guy starts laughing. He goes, huh, okay, yeah, sure. I'll just take this home today. And the other guy is laughing with him, not understanding. He goes, yeah, you will. And he goes, and this mattress, I'll just take home this mattress. And they keep going back and forth, and the guy gets this real like wheezy kind of like laugh, like and then they just look at each other and they make eye contact, and they instantly both stop. And he goes, I'll pull around to the front then. And he goes, great, fantastic. And it's just it's a perfect little advertisement. And you know what? It didn't save Kmart, but I guarantee you people's first thought when they watched these ads wasn't, man, Kmart is a piece of garbage place to go shop. Man, that place should just be shot and put out of its misery. To, do you remember that awesome Kmart commercial where people shipped their mattresses?
Right. It's not enough that people know about you. You actually have to be good. So, the Kmart ads, they did their job. They got people to think about Kmart again, right? And to have Kmart on top of mind. Kmart didn't do its job on the other end of that. Well, you have all this attention. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to capitalize on it? Nope. The most common thing that I shipped my pants thing would have had to deal with was the executives at Kmart going, oh, will the other executives at other companies think we're idiots? Will they make fun of us? Will this lower us in the eyes of people and make us seem like a laughingstock? Will we not seem like a premium brand? They have all of this weird emotional psychology around how they're perceived within their own industry and amongst people who they work with or even compete against. They're more worried about what they're going to say than does this effectively get customers to think about you? And that is the single biggest hang up is, oh, I don't want anyone who I know to make fun of me. It's like, well, then, quit your job, go move out into the fucking woods.
Right.
Because it's like, what are we talking here about? Do you want people to know that you exist or not? Well, then we're going to do something to get their attention. We'll do our job. We'll get their attention for you, but you got to take it home. It's your business. It's your job. If people are like, oh, that Kmart commercial was great, let's go to Kmart. Oh, that's right, this place fucking sucks. Then they're going to go, oh, that just reminded me that Kmart sucks.
Do you So you were very happy about the ad I was referencing when I was praising you earlier.
I was very, very happy with both. Jason and I are very happy with our work on that one.
Occasionally I get to record something at the radio station that I really, really love. And it usually comes from this. It comes from our production department taking a stab at something and it just sounding a little too generic. And so when it comes to something like promos that we're cutting for things within our own station, I kind of have carte blanche to do whatever I want as long as the information gets out there, right? So if the information is you need to go get one of the 2022 KFGO cookbooks, I can really do whatever I want around that. And I did one recently that I thought was so funny, and people said, hey, this really stuck out to me, where I was cutting an ad being like, the 4th edition of the KFGO cookbook is now available. All you'll need is to pick up a copy of the cookbook and a plate and probably a pan and food. You'll need the food that we tell you to make, but the cookbook is ready to go. And I trail off at one point in it, and it just was different enough where it sounded not like an ad, but somebody talking about it and running out of steam about why you need a cookbook, right? Like, to be like, listen, the cookbook will solve every problem in your life as long as you've got salt and pepper and, you're not currently only eating liquids, or you're on a diet, because this isn't a diet cookbook. And I thought it was so funny. And I got so many people who came up and said, hey, listen, this one caught my attention. And I thought, that's the thing, is I recorded 70 different promos for that cookbook in the month of December. And that's the only one out of 70 that grabbed people's attention enough to mention it. And that, to me, is the exact reason why sometimes you just need to let people take a shot in the dark.
Well, and it's a numbers game, and you never know exactly what's going to hit. So even though, we're really happy with this Vogel ad, are a ton of people going to see it? No dollars are being put behind it. So it's like, even just because an ad is really good, it doesn't mean that it's going to get out there or be effective. But every once in a while, one that surprises you will just sort of hit. I directed a commercial for Piggy Barbecue earlier in the year that every time it gets posted, it gets like 18,000, 20,000 views organically, not dollars put behind it. And for some reason, that one it plays. We don't know why. It just seems to. So yeah, it just kind of, you never quite know what's going to hit. You had no idea that your Doritos commercial was going to become like an international sensation.
Yeah.
And be, you know, like subtitled in multiple different languages and things like that. So isn't it weird to go, you and I both put things out into the world on an almost daily basis, or at least weekly basis. You've definitely daily basis. For me, it's probably a weekly basis. And it's hard to understand how many, if any, see it, right? Like, at least with the podcast, I can kind of look at stats in the background. But even then, I'm like, I don't have any names for these people. So suddenly someone I know goes, hey, I listened to your podcast the other day. And I'll be like, whoa, that's weird. I keep forgetting that that's out there for people to just listen to.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, this is a good opportunity to tell you that the sponsor of this episode of JJ Meets World is Pizza Hut. And if you need a piece for a hut, Pizza Hut is the place to go. You know that you've got other options when repairing your hut or shanty or shack, but Pizza Hut is the place you want to go if you want quality pieces for your hut. Not affiliated with Pizza Hut, which is literally a bad building compound. You can't build a hut out of pizza, and there's currently legislation that's being made to take away their name so that Pizza Hut can operate without having people asking them all the time for deep dish. So this episode of JJ Meets World brought to you by Pizza Hut.
You know, Pizza Hut produced my all-time favorite VHS tapes.
Oh, those ones that were available like only at Pizza Hut locations?
They were the X-Men Creator's Choice ones. Did you ever get those?
You know, I did. I was not an X-Men fan the way everyone else was. I was more like Goof Troop, where we always stick together.
Well, but you would have gone for the Darkwing Duck promo.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Pizza Hut had the best promos back then.
You know, I recently just I decorated with VHS tapes in my oh wow.
Your house?
No, I just
living room.
In my living room. I was just gonna say, like, I just got a notification that Pope Benedict died.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Pope Benedict and Barbara Walters in the span of 24 hours.
Cardinal Ratzinger.
I wonder if they were together, like hanging out.
They were like, hey, we got one day left. Let's make it memorable.
No. So I was saying, so I decorated with all these VHS tapes, and I stumbled upon the fact that at one point, the Rankin and Bass holiday specials had a deal with the U.S. Postal Service. And so there are U.S. Postal Service editions of that. And I thought that it might have been the most genius thing back in the day. Like, if you had your mail carrier, if you could put out a little thing like on your mailbox that says, oh, here's a check for $5 and this is the VHS tape I want. So the next day it gets delivered right to your mailbox. That would be amazing. And that could have been the thing that saved the Postal Service. I didn't even know that this was something that was going on.
Oh, I have the Rudolph one.
Do ya?
Yeah. You know, McDonald's also had promotional VHSs for a while. They had Wayne's World and Addams Family.
I had the Addams Family one.
Charlotte's Web. What's that?
I had the Addams Family one.
Yeah. I think it was just Wayne's World, Addams Family, and Charlotte's Web. I think those were the three that they did.
What an interesting grouping of films.
Right?
I guess to me, when it comes down to it, like offering, and you know, do you remember like when pizza, I think it might have even been Pizza Hut or Papa John's, but for a while they flirted with the idea of like, hey, we'll give you a free DVD, just the disc of a movie, so you can get like a pizza and a movie tonight.
Yep. Yeah, those days are done unless they give you like a download code.
Yeah. I think that like getting physical media was always just a lot of fun. Hey,
do you currently buy 4K discs at all?
You know, only of stuff that I know I am such a diehard fan of that I will get some use out of them. So, for example, I've got the 4K of Indiana Jones, of Back to the Future. I mean, there's now, I maybe own like 6 or 7 4Ks at this point.
I don't own a single one, but I want to get into it. I want to buy a player and start slowly but surely building up a 4K collection. But I mean, the thing is that I would only want the ones that are they're made with like Criterion or someone will make like a really cool looking box, or they'll work really hard on the box art.
Yep.
Versus making it just look like a retail copy that's just sitting on the shelf. I think retail copies just look so ugly in general.
Yeah,
So
I bought a ton of like all of the Wes Anderson films through Shout Factory through Criterion had a big sale, and so I bought all of their Criterion because their box art is so much better. And Joe was like, "What are with all these pastel ones?" And I'm like, "They're all the Wes Anderson films." So
Nice.
yeah, I like it. In fact, I think I'm gonna go watch Darjeeling Limited right now. So
Do it.
Let's end this podcast. And heyo, this is for everyone who's gonna go fix a toilet today. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. Turns out I didn't fix my toilet, but I took Tucker's advice and I pooped in a bucket. Now I'm in big trouble.